I'm Cassandra Osterloh. I am the librarian at the National Hispanic Cultural Center, which is in Albuquerque. And I'm going to talk to you today about our Children's Bilingual Book Festival. So one of the things that we did back in probably about 2018 was we were talking and trying to figure out something we wanted to do or could do that was a little different than our typical lecture series and book clubs and some of the other things that we have going on in our history and literary arts program here at the NHCC. And somebody suggested, actually that somebody was Margarita Engel, she suggested that we look into doing a children's bilingual book festival because at that time she was unaware of any festival like that, right? That were specific to books, specific to children that were bilingual, and you could have the authors come and talk and whatever. So we did a little research and we didn't find anything then. I'm saying then because that's changed a little since then, but at that time we didn't see much or anything really at all that was specific for children. So we really wanted to create a festival that focused on bilingual books, not just Spanish and English, which would be, seems like it might be obvious, right, for the Hispanic Cultural Center to do, but also native languages and English, and asking authors to come and talk about that and show that reflection of identity for children that are in New Mexico and in the Southwest primarily was our starting point. We really wanted to encourage children to see themselves, right, in contemporary literature, and then also introduce this bilingual body of work to a wider audience. So our first book festival was in 2019. It was only a day, one day. We decided we should start small. So we did a one day in person. We had primarily local authors, although Pat Mora did come and was our keynote speaker. But we had, luckily in New Mexico, we have a lot of amazing authors. We had Enrique Lamadrid, Ana Baca, Nazario Garcia, Kathleen Contreras, among others who came. They read from their books. They talked a little bit about, what it means to be an author. We had a teacher workshop. We had some student storytellers and poetry readings, some different activities that kids and their families could drop in and do, and then a book fair type of thing. So we had about 450 people come through that day, which was amazing. We were, super tired, but we were super excited. We had so many. It was quite a multi-generational experience, which was great. And so our thought was that for the next year, we really needed to schedule in a day where we could do classroom visits. So we had that all set for that Friday. We had several authors coming from around the country who were going to do classroom visits on Fridays, and then on that Friday and then Saturday, they were going to come in and do a similar type thing as we had had the year before. We had gotten some more money. We had several worked and tried to get a lot of collaborators, right, to get different monies to help with that. We had a grant from the NEA, and many of our partners who were on board for 2019 continued on to 2020. And then we started a collaboration with the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center here in Albuquerque too. But unfortunately, because this is an event that happens in April, we had to cancel our in-person event, and we felt we were too close to the time to really figure out a way to do this online. We thought we could postpone it, but it just didn't work that way. So we ended up just canceling it altogether. So spent the last 6 months then working on the 2021 festival, which we just finished. We did 4 days, April 15th through the 18th. We included authors and illustrators. So the authors came in, they did presentations and readings from their books. Illustrators did demos, showed how they create a storyboard maybe. Some of them talked about their own personal journals that they keep and showed them, and how they work through creating a character and what it looks like, what that character might look like in different ways. We had one author who had written a book about her grandmother's tortillas who read from her book and then did a cooking demonstration and showed us how to cook tortillas. We had a group who came in and did like a combined story time and music time. So that was really nice. We tried to have a couple of different panel presentations, one on Native art in children's literature, and then another one on cultural competency and authenticity in children's books. We did a couple of workshops, and then we had hands-on activities. We did pop-up books, and we did cartoneras. We did all kinds of fun stuff. And we had Flo Trujillo, who's in Farmington, New Mexico, and with Reforma New Mexico. She had helped us in 2019, but she helped us get some young storytellers from the Four Corners area. They did storytelling in English and Spanish and Dene. So that was great. And then also some just story time. So some people reading from books or from their books. Like I said, we did 4 days this year, which was crazy. So you're talking about 15 hours of Zoom. We had 4 days of 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 every single day on Zoom. We kept the Zoom open. There was no registration, which caused a little angst with some people, but security and safety was really important to me. So, I worked with our monitors to make sure they were keeping an eye on that, but I also wanted it to be something where people could just drop in. That's one thing with these types of venues that makes it a little hard. You want people to be able to drop in, you want to advertise it widely, but you don't want it to be that advertised widely, right? There might be issues or something, but we had no issues. When presenters were talking, we closed the chat and muted people so that there were no interruptions. That worked really well. And then when we opened up the chat for questions and answers, authors and illustrators were amazing. So each one had an hour time period. So they presented for about 40 minutes. Had a lot of time. We didn't ask for anything specific from them. We asked them just to, share maybe some of their stories, some of their inspirations, maybe if they could do the session bilingually, to do that as well. And every session was completely different and amazing. They really came through wonderfully. And the Thursday and Friday sessions, we had a lot of classrooms from around the country who came and participated and watched. And then the students got to ask questions of these authors and illustrators who were just, there was one girl, every session she was in, she would ask the presenter, "How old are you?" And every single one of them answered her, and or they would ask, "What's your favorite book? What are your kids' names?" And a lot of those classes had done a lot of research on those authors and illustrators, so they had an idea. If they didn't know them already, they had some more information about them, and they were using that to continue their research for the class. So Saturday and Sunday sessions were not as widely attended. I think we ended up in an awkward situation as to the timing of all of this. When we began working on it in September and October, there was a lot of people were wanting to have this type of thing. And this is something that right now, the weather is nice. People are going to want to be outside more. Things are opening up more. So they have that, but they also, 6 months ago, just popping into a Zoom session on the weekend was probably more, would have happened more often in the middle of the weekend, right? So we still had good sessions. We recorded most everything. Some we weren't allowed to record, but and we'll be getting those up on the festival website soon. That's my next order of business. And then some of our sessions we recorded with the possibility of creating a podcast episode. We have a podcast in our department too. So a couple of highlights that I wanted to point out that I thought were great too is that not only did we have young storytellers, but which are the first 4 in the picture below. They were our storytellers, but we also had 2 young authors. So the girl at the very end, Viviana Torres, with the long hair, and then the young girl in the up above, under where it says Still Waters in the Storm, Sara, Sierra, they're both in 6th grade, and they both have published books. And so we asked for them to be able to come and also read and talk about their experiences. So we not only had, established authors, we had young authors, and we had emerging authors and illustrators. We had people who are self-publishing all the way through to, who are very well established and using and working through major publishing companies. So we really wanted to also show, that breadth as well. Still Waters in a Storm, if you're not familiar with them, check them out. They're amazing. Stephen Hoff is the founder and leader. He created a one-room schoolhouse, as he calls it. It's a writing and reading sanctuary for children 5 to 17 in Brooklyn. And what they do is he uses Don Quixote as the center, and they do a lot of writing. They work with music. They create plays and musicals based off of Don Quixote, where the students play different parts. So like Sara, she's one of the main characters, and then they go around and they perform. But they meet every week. They eat. They work together, and they just have an amazing program. And we actually were able to have a handful of students from around the country be a part of that as well, of their Saturday program. So we started this connection with them. And then Stephen and Sara came and read and talked about. So Stephen's book is the one that's on the screen here. And then Sara's book is this one. It's called Becoming Kid Quixote, which is really interesting. A couple of things finally that we learned, and some things we're going to try and do maybe a little differently. We'll see what happens, is that we'd love to be able to do this in more of a hybrid fashion. So knowing that we had not only presenters from around the continent, actually, we had presenters from Mexico and Canada, as well as around the US, but also attendees. We had attendees from Brazil and Spain, several islands in the Caribbean, and all throughout North America and Costa Rica even. So having that option for people to continue to be able to come in that way, I think is so important for anything we continue to do from now on, especially for this and for the classes especially. So having that an online and in person for classes during the week, so that classes around our area can have maybe some of those presenters who come in person come and work with them like we originally had planned for last year. We probably just do an in-person on one weekend day instead of two. There's that sense of community that is really great, having a book fair where you can come and buy books and have them signed and all that, and then have live streaming maybe for some of those sessions where we can. The staffing will have to look a lot different. This year, we were able to do it with just our three staff members, but next year we have to have more for administrative and volunteers that we can't do it otherwise. And the money. So this year we got a grant from the city of Albuquerque, and we were able to pay an honorarium to each presenter. We want to continue to be able to do that, but we'll also have to pay for travel. So that was another thing that we were able to, that was nice to not have to worry about this year, but we do want people to be able to come and be a part of this, the presenters themselves. So, and then this year we didn't really do anything with sponsors and vendors. I've done a lot of conferences already with, New Mexico Library Association and others, and it's really hard, I think, for vendors in this type of a venue. So we didn't really have that as a setup, but we will when we're in person and can have like a book fair and people can come and purchase materials and get them signed and whatever. So
Sandra, you are just about out of time.
I am.
You're wrapping up. You're perfect.
I am wrapping up. Yeah. So I think, we felt like we had a good overall, we're right around 1,400 people attend over that we could figure out. It's kind of hard sometimes over Zoom, but over our 4 days. And, we're hoping that next year we can continue and it'll look different again. Each year so far has looked very different, but that's what we have. So, and there's my email if you have more questions. There is a website that has a lot of information about each presenter and all the presentations and panels and activities and everything that we did. So thank you.
Thank you. This was wonderful. I can't wait to go check out the website.